Well, good morning, Lufkin Central Faith family and online worship community. My name is Jason Hollinger. I'm the preaching and community minister here. And as we begin a new week, the last week of 2020 for Jesus and Coffee, we find ourselves nearing the end of the year that we have all wanted to move on from. And that's not to say that 2021 will not have at the very least begin with some of the struggles, and we don't know how long it'll last into, but let's make let's make no mistake in mentioning this. 2020 is a year that we are waiting to put into the rearview mirror. And so as we think about just this week, Thursday celebrates the last day. We get to celebrate the last day of 2020. And I don't know about you. Here comes the question: who's ready for 2020 to end? At least this guy right here. This guy right here is ready for it to end and ready to kind of launch into a new chapter in this journey of church, of discipleship, of kingdom work, and just ready to kind of take some steps forward. This has been exhausting. It's been draining, but it's also had some exciting moments, some opportunities of connecting in ways with some that we didn't think maybe was possible. We didn't invest in it as much as others have done, and even those who have invested in online ministry are obviously growing exponentially in this season. But as we get to this last week of the year, with these last few days of the year, for our Jesus and Coffee this morning, I want to take us to Job chapter 3. Now, Job is a man that, if you have not read his story, experienced some heartache. And he experienced some struggles that just like that. Just it was what he knew was not the case anymore. As he experienced heartache and loss and sadness and sorrow and grief and all these things, and yet even in the midst of it, it says that he did not sin or charge God with wrong, but Job still had his questions. Job still had his wonders of why this happened, why it had to happen, all these things, and Job needed to lament a little bit, and maybe that's something you and I need to do, and there'll be a time for us to be able to lament this. So let's read a little from Job chapter 3. We'll issue our challenge and send you on your way throughout this day. After this, Job opened his mouth after his friends, three of his friends, began to help him process these things. After this, Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. And Job said, "Let the day perish on which I was born, and the night that said, a man is conceived. Let that day be darkness. May God above not seek it, nor light shine upon it. Let gloom and deep darkness claim it. Let clouds dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. That night let thick darkness seize it. Let it not rejoice among the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of the months. Behold, let that night be barren. Let no joyful cry enter into it. Let those who curse the day, who are ready to rouse up Leviathan. Let the stars of its dawn be dark. Let it hope for light, but have none, nor see the eyelids of the morning, because it did not shut the doors of my mother's womb, nor hide trouble from my eyes. Why did I not die at birth, come out from the womb and expire? Why did the knees receive, or why the breasts that I should nurse? From then I would have lain down and been quiet. I would have slept. Then I would have been at rest with kings and counselors of the earth who rebuilt ruins for themselves, or with princes who had gold, who filled their houses and silver. Or why was I not as a hidden stillborn child, as infants who never see the light? There the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary are at rest. There the prisoners are at ease together. They hear not the voice of the taskmaster. The small and the great are there, and the slave is free from his master. Why is light given to him who is in misery, and life to the bitter in soul, who long for death, but it comes not, and dig for it more than the hidden treasures, who rejoice exceedingly and are glad when they find the grave? Why is light given to a man whose way is hidden, whom God has hedged in? For my sighing comes instead of my bread, and my groanings are poured out like water. For the thing that I fear comes upon me, and what I dread befalls me. I am not at ease, nor am I quiet. I have no rest, but trouble comes. You know, again, as we mentioned, these are the words of a man who has experienced heartache, who has experienced sorrow, and is processing these things. He is lamenting, he is expressing his pain, his anguish over all that he has lost. And he wonders why this had to happen. Why these things had to be the way that they are. He says, essentially, not if I would have never been born, but if maybe I wouldn't have survived birth, I wouldn't be experiencing this heartache. I wouldn't have had all that I had only to lose it. It's difficult. And you hear just the pain that he is experiencing as you read these words, as they pour out. And, you know, all too often we struggle with how to respond. We think sometimes, well, when we ask these questions, we're doubting God and we have no faith in that. And I think that couldn't be further from the truth. I think God is okay with our questions. But it's how we respond to those questions, how we circle back to understanding that He is the one who helps us endure. He is the one who will never leave our side in the midst of the sorrow, in the midst of the heartache. That He is the one there with us in the good times and the bad times. In the times that we rejoice over, and in the chaos that we express just over. And when we come with all our wonder and our questions and we say, God, why did this have to happen? You see, it's not so much to ask those questions, but are you listening for an answer? You've asked God, why did this happen? Your challenge today is to sit back and listen to God answer. Because as the song that we sang as a kid, you know, Jesus is the answer for the world today. Above Him is no other. Jesus is the way. That when we understand that, ultimately it comes back to circling back to Him, because He is not just the answer. He is the one who can guide us in the midst of the good times and the bad times, in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the heartache, in the midst of the season that leads us to say, yea, God. How we respond matters. It's okay to ask those questions. Your challenge today is to listen for the answer. Can't wait to hear how it goes. Y'all have a great day. God bless.